Chairman and MD of ITC, Sanjeev Puri Sahib, my old friend from CII, who I've had the pleasure of having with me on many delegations abroad, conducting many sessions within India in multiple avatars, Chandrajit Banerjee Sahib, who till this day I didn't know was called CB, but nevertheless, members of CII present here today, ladies and gentlemen, and my friends from the media. As always, it's an honor to be part of CII's annual business summit, something that I've been a part of and something that I feel privileged to have been a part of for many, many years over the last 23 years of public service. And I must, on this occasion, also congratulate CII for its path-breaking contribution to the growth of our country, to the growth of India. Many initiatives undertaken by this umbrella span not only across the interests of industry, but span across the development of every single citizen across the length and breadth of our country. And CII has played a very, very important seminal role in that evolution, if you will, over the many, many years since its foundation. And today is a day where, on the one hand, where we look to the future with great confidence, great energy, great vigor. It is also a day to look back at our past in terms of this organization, CII's contribution towards that growth of our country. So today is a day where I'd like to commend you all for you and all the office bearers before you and all the members of CII before yourselves who have contributed to the India story that we are seeing today. I was glancing at the topic of today's annual business summit. Two words: simple, yet fundamental. Fundamental not for CII alone as an institution. Fundamental not alone for every industrial group or every entrepreneur as an organization, but fundamental in our lives as humans. Building trust is founded on the principle of consistency. It's not instant coffee. It's not instant gratification. जिस तरीके से किसान बीज बोता है, उसे खाद देना पड़ता है, पानी देना पड़ता है, और उसके बाद फसल उगती है, वैसे ही विश्वास जीतने के लिए निरंतर निवेश करना पड़ता है और निरंतर उस संबंध को मजबूत करनी पड़ती है. Human relations are based on trust. And it's like a glass ball. In life, we juggle many balls. But two balls are made of glass. One is the ball of trust. Takes a long time to build, but if shattered once, can never be rebuilt again. The second glass ball is one of relationships. Relationships in the modern world have become too transactional. Relationships also need a huge amount of investment, huge amount of constant building. And those relationships also are very delicate, because relationships once broken are very difficult to rebuild. And therefore today's topic, building trust, is fundamental to our existence as humans, fundamental to our existence as organizations, and fundamental to us as a country. And therefore, I must commend CII for choosing this very, very succinct yet important topic. And I had the good fortune of attending Stanford Business School. And when you're doing your MBA at Stanford, generally the thesis is that it's going to be all about spreadsheets and financial numbers. But more than 2/3 of the MBA talks about concepts of organizational behavior, concepts of building trust, building relationships, motivating organizations. And therefore, these key softer concepts are more fundamental in life than necessarily the black ink on your P&L and your balance sheet. And for us as a country as well, it's a truth that resonates very, very deeply in our journey. For us, as Indians, trust was never born out of grand declarations and promise, but it has been born out of hard work and toil by every single Indian citizen to ensure that the country reaches the zenith that it has reached today. Back in the days when India used to be mainly an agrarian economy, we were described as a less developed country. But in the last 10 years, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India has shed that skin. She has become a nation that is today the envy of every single country across the world, ladies and gentlemen. In 2014, we were the 11th largest economy in the world. We are today the 5th largest economy in the world. Dil mange more. We've relegated to the 6th place that nation that once had the ambition to rule India. 10 days ago, we have moved from the 5th largest economy to the 4th largest economy in the world by being ahead of Japan. And mark my words, by 2027 or even earlier, we will become the 3rd largest economy in the world by displacing Germany. Our path is strident. Our path is committed. For this government and for all of you, we do not count years anymore. We do not count days anymore. We do not count months anymore. We count hours and we count seconds. Every second has to count, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, in last year's budget, a capex plan of 11.21 lakh crores, something inconceivable by government across multiple array of sectors. We were earlier used to the numbers of 50,000 crores, 1 lakh crores. Today, that capex of 11.21 lakh crores is also what is steering India ahead, ladies and gentlemen. And you couple that with a governance model that is predicated and based on political stability and performance. When you have both of these factors together along with innovative leadership that wants to create a paradigm shift, and India has that in the form of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In his third consecutive term, ensuring India's ekta, India's akhandata, and giving a befitting response through Operation Sindoor to those who have cast an evil eye on our land. He has said very clearly, जमाना आज बदल चुका है, गोली का जवाब गोला के आधार पर दिया जाएगा. India does not wish to have a negative view on any people or any country. But if any force across the world casts an evil eye on India, India will respond in double measure to that force. India has changed in her delivery platform. And I quote the Prime Minister when he says, it has become a new normal for the world to acknowledge that India delivers and delivers ahead of time, unquote. And therefore, the India I bring to you today is the India where trust is a system, where every policy, where every rupee spent, where every kilometer of road built, where every meter of optical fiber laid is a statement of intent. India today, ladies and gentlemen, has risen on the world stage. And that rise, therefore today, I will not speak to you about abstract terms. I will speak to you with regard to delivery, with regard to measurable progress, with regard to outcomes that inspire trust. And trust for me is based on 5 fundamental pillars. T for technology, R for reach, U for upliftment, S for scalability, and T for tradition and togetherness. It is these 5 pillars that symbolize the energy, the vitality, the capability, and the potential of 140 crore of us, ladies and gentlemen. I shall speak briefly with regard to each one of these pillars. When we talk about technology, India today across the world is seen as a digital-first economy. And leading that digital-first economy has been the telecom revolution in this country. Today, from close to 800 million subscribers 10 years ago. We are at 1.2 billion mobile subscribers, the second largest mobile market in the world. From close to about 250 million internet users, we are today at 974 million internet users in a span of 10 years. From only 66 million broadband users, which means greater than 1 GB, we are today at close to 940 million broadband users. And where on the one hand you have seen economies of scale in terms of rising volumes, you've also seen the application of Moore's law from physics to economics, where costs have fallen by multiples exponentially. I remember the days when I was in India first as an investment banker, decades ago, when the first mobile licenses were given out for the first 6 cities. It used to cost us 16 rupees a minute. Each one of these boxes used to cost us upwards of 60,000 rupees. Today, voice costs close to 0.03 paise per minute, practically free. And similarly, when we talk about data, 11 years ago, 1 GB of data would cost you 287 rupees. Today, 1 GB of data costs you 9 rupees. There's a 97% reduction in costs of communication, ladies and gentlemen, over the last 11 years. And if you look at us globally, India's cost of communication of data is 11 cents per GB, whereas the world average is $2.50 per GB. So we are 5% of the world's average. India, I believe, in the next 5 years will become the data capital of the world in the time to come, ladies and gentlemen. And while we talk about technology, the Prime Minister's resolve of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Atmanirbhar Telecom. We had 4 countries in the world that would be able to manufacture a telecom stack: Sweden, Finland, Korea, and China. 4 countries, 5 companies. Everyone thought it was impossible. And we had in India what we would generally deem impossible: a government company, CDOT, combining with a private sector company, Tejas, along with an Indian system integrator, TCS, and in 20 months, we came up with innovation and developed our own 4G telecom stack in India. We are now only the 5th country in the world to have that capability. And as we speak today, we are rolling out the first 100,000 towers on BSNL's network. And today we have installed, out of the 100,000 towers, which started last September, October, we have installed close to 94,000 towers on BSNL's network. And mind you, if I may add, after 18 years of blood, sweat, and toil, BSNL has posted a record net profit for the 2nd consecutive quarter, October to December last year and Jan to March this year. So that is the capability of our technology. And that technology is also going to be seen in hitherto a not much talked about sector, which is our postal department. Probably some of you know, and probably Mr. Sanjeev Puri is aware, being part of an FMCG conglomerate, that probably the largest distribution network, not in India, but the largest distribution network globally, if anyone possesses, it is the Department of Posts with 1,64,000 POPs, points of presence across the length and breadth of our country. And it is our resolve. We are conducting a business process restructuring exercise. It is our resolve to convert the Department of Posts from a cost center into a profit center over the next 5 years. पुरानी कहावत है कि डाकिया डाक लाया है. अब कहावत बनने जा रही है कि डाकिया बैंक लाया है. When I had this responsibility, I remember this was my first charge as MOS way back in 2007. I had the concept that a post office must become the window to the world for the common man. There is no reason why that the post office cannot be the small mall in every single village across the length and breadth of our country. And our Dakia, our GDS, Gramin Dak Sevak, who works day and night, when we talk about building trust, if you want the repository of trust in every village across the length and breadth of India, there are only two people who are trusted in a village. It is either your Dakia. Why? Because he knows your house. He knows your wife's name. He knows how many children you have. He knows where they are studying. He knows how old your parents are. So it's either the Dakia or it's the Kotwar, the village headman, the village guardman. That is the treasure that we have within the postal system, which we will turn to serve the nation in the days to come. That's my commitment to you. And when we talk about technology, we are empowering every Dakia with a handheld system so that all transactions are electronic in this day and age of electronic transactions. The second pillar, which is about reach. When we talk about reach, there probably is no better exposition of that than the Northeast. Hitherto known as the last fringe of India, the Prime Minister has clearly brought the Northeast into the core and central to India's progress to make Viksit Bharat 2047. And probably very few of you are aware that these 8 states, the global growth average is 2.5%, Sanjeev, 2.75% GDP growth. India, 6.757% decadal. So we are growing at 3x of the world, roughly 2.5, 3x. My Northeast 8 states are not growing at 2.75%, decadal growth rate. They are not growing at 6.757%. They are growing at a decadal growth rate of 12 to 13%. So they indeed will be the engines of growth of India. They are the engines of growth of India. 36 states and union territories. And if you think of India as a train with 36 bogies, these 8 are the engine of India, ladies and gentlemen. And why is that? That is because for the last 11 years, the Prime Minister has transformed the Northeast. Our last villages on our border were known as the last villages. They have been transformed into vibrant villages. Close to about 10% of GBS, gross budgetary support in the last decade, 7 lakh crores roughly has gone into the Northeast for infrastructure spend. Tax devolution has increased 5 times to 5.5 lakh crore. Which is why in India, in the Northeast, where you had in 65 years, 10,000 kilometers of national highways, you today, in 10 years, you built an additional 6,000 kilometers of national highways. In the Northeast, where you had only 9 airports, I was shocked when I took over as Civil Aviation Minister. 2 states did not have any airport, Arunachal and Sikkim. Today, the Northeast, in a period of 11 years, from 9 airports, has 17 airports. We measure connectivity in terms of ATMs, air traffic movements per week. We had 980 air traffic movements per week in 2014. Today, we have 2,200 air traffic movements per week in the Northeast. Railways. 2,000 kilometers of railways have been built in the last 10 years. Today, we have 19 projects worth 81,000 crores being under execution for railways in the Northeast. We've just connected Aizawl with railways 3 days ago. Cabinet 2 weeks ago sanctioned the Silchar to Meghalaya 6-lane expressway, 166 kilometers, 22,000 crores. That's the pace of change that we are seeing today in the Northeast. And that reach, I believe, is going to transform the Northeast. Many of us are not aware. 200-300 years ago, the Northeast used to be the fulcrum of the trade route between the global North and the global South. All trade would pass through the Northeast. And many of you will be astounded. The flying time from Guwahati to Mumbai is the same as the flying time from Guwahati to Singapore. The flying time from Agartala to Chennai is the same as the flying time from Agartala to Bangkok. And so it is our government's resolve that Guwahati and Agartala will be made into international gateways to connect to the rest of Southeast Asia. $122 billion in trade with the ASEAN. We must route that through the Northeast. And for that, we are building the Kaladan Multimodal Logistics Highway, where we will use waterways. We've constructed a port in Sitwe. We're now connecting the last mile in terms of road, 60 kilometers of road. Therefore, trade into the ASEAN and into the Southeast Asia will be a reality in the coming days. When we talk about the third pillar, which is upliftment, what we have seen in the last decade, ladies and gentlemen, is nothing less than spectacular. 25 crore people in our country have been lifted above poverty. We built 3 crore houses in Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana from independence till 2014. In the last 10 years, we built 3.5 crore houses for the poor. And in the next 5 years, we will build another 3 crore houses for the poor. Many of us who are not seated in this room don't have health insurance. Through the Ayushman card policy, 2 transformations have happened. First, close to about 30 crore of our citizens have availed of a policy where 5 lakh of rupees worth health coverage is fundamentally free for every citizen across the length and breadth of our country. The second, that card, that Ayushman card that is given in every individual's hand, is Prime Minister Modi's guarantee that irrespective of where you are, a Gujarati going to Maharashtra, a Maharashtrian going to the Northeast, a Tamilian going to Uttar Pradesh, God forbid if he or she falls ill, That Ayushman card is valid across 100,000 hospitals across the length and breadth of our country. That concept of universal coverage was never there. The Ujjwala Yojana, benefiting close to 10 crore women. बहुत आसान है लफ्ज निकलने के लिए, 10 करोड़। 10 करोड़ महिलाओं को जो लकड़ी के आधार पर खाना पकाती थी और बनाती थी, आज गैस का चूल्हा और स्टोव दिया गया है ग्रामीण अंचल में भी, मेरे भाई और बहनों। That is monumental change. And that monumental change of upliftment has happened today. When we talk about scalability, when we build in India, we build to scale. Whether you talk about UPI, you talk about Aadhaar, you talk about DBT. Today we are conducting close to 272 million transactions per month on UPI. 272 million. 46% of the world's digital transactions take place in India. We are talking about 1.72 trillion transactions per year, $2.85 trillion transacted through UPI. If anyone could do it in the world, it could only be India. How many of you have been to the Eiffel Tower in France? Okay. So when you normally, or when the last time you went there, you have to go to a counter and buy a ticket, and then you go to the lift, and then you enter the lift. Correct? Am I right? Now, whoever goes to the Eiffel Tower in France, all you do is you need to take out your credit card, zap it on UPI, and your transaction is done and you get into the lift. So UPI has crossed Indian shores. It is being used in the Eiffel Tower today in France. So when India builds to global scale, ladies and gentlemen. And finally, the concept of tradition and togetherness. India's capability, her inherent strength, lies not only in her economic strength, it also lies in her adhyatmik shakti, her philosophical strength. There is no country in the world that has given birth to probably more than a single religion. It is only India that has given birth to 3 religions: Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. It is only India through which the philosophy of life has been transported by trade winds. Because in early days, I'm talking about thousands of years ago, trade was done by ship. And when the monsoon winds would come, trade would move eastward. And when the monsoons would be complete, the trade would move westward towards Mesopotamia. And our culture, our philosophy, along with our trade, has moved both eastward and westward. It is time to rekindle that spirit. And that is the torch in the Prime Minister's hand as he reignites and rekindles Ma Bharati's Adhyatmik Shakti across the length and breadth of the world, including 21st of June when we celebrate International Yoga Day across the length and breadth of our globe, ladies and gentlemen. And that concept of tradition and togetherness, that capability that India stands for harboring diversity, for valuing wisdom, for standing for unity over uniformity. That soul of India, which has been always inclusive and welcoming, is today ready for another rise across the world. So what is it that we ask of you? We ask of you to continue to believe. We ask of you to continue to contribute. Because these 25 years, as India celebrates her Amrit Kal, onto her journey of her Shatabdi Kal will be the transformative years when India will completely change and metamorphosize and rise on the global stage. And therefore today, we invite you to build with us not just a developed India, but along with a developed India, a dependable India. Along with a dependable India, a decisive India. And along with a decisive India, a destined India. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
So it was really fascinating to listen to you, Honorable